Hi everyone, it's Emily, and on this channel, I've talked about using Japanese proxy services a few times as an alternative way to import various games and merchandise from Japan. I'm sure many of us have imported games from PlayAsia, Amazon Japan, as well as AmiAmi. While these are all very popular websites and I've used them many times myself, they are rather limited. So I've been using Japanese proxy services for a few years now, I think since like back in 2017, and I found them as a great way to kind of bridge the gap of finding some really great deals on Japanese merchandise, as well as help me find a lot of harder to acquire items. So today I'm going to be on the computer sharing some tips and tricks of how to use some of these Japanese proxy services, such as how to kind of utilize the search tools to find really good listings, and also go into some strategies I've used when trying to get the best bang for your buck. As I mentioned, I've been using Japanese proxy services since back in 2017, and I would say the landscape has quite changed over the years. And most recently, I feel like a lot of the proxy services that people tend to use nowadays have very similar fee structures and places that they're able to purchase from. So for the purpose of this video, I will be going through ZenMarket, which is one I've used for quite some time. In my experience, they're one of the more intuitive proxy services, so they're great, I think, for first-timers. And they're also running a campaign right now where if you are buying something from Mercari Japan, they'll waive the fee. So if you're buying a lot of items, having the waive fee does help out a lot, because even though this particular proxy service just charges 300 yen per listing, it does add up, especially if you buy a lot of items. But some other proxy services I've used in the past include Myokyo, Bai, and from Japan, which I believe recently changed their name. I'll have it up on the screen, what they're called now. I've generally had pretty good experiences with all of those, though I think out of that list, my preferred one is Myokyo. Their fee structure is they only charge $250 per listing, but they do have a consolidation fee. So if they consolidate a package with multiple different items for you, there'll be a fee attached to that, whereas ZenMarket doesn't have that, which is nice. So this is what ZenMarket looks like, and again, because they're now allowing orders from Mercari to be placed before they restricted all their flea market sites. They're waiving the service fee, and they're also offering a 10% cash back. So I believe this is until, let's see, February 19th Japan Standard Time. So I definitely want to take advantage of this, and so I'll be mostly buying things from Mercari Japan in this tutorial. But there are a lot of other great websites you can also buy from. One of the popular ones is Yahoo Japan Auctions, and so this is very similar to eBay. Yahoo Japan Auctions is very similar to eBay, where they do have different auctions and also some buy it now listings you're able to consider. I generally don't like auctions, so I kind of don't look at Yahoo Japan Auctions too often. And unlike eBay, they do extend the time for an auction if there's a bidding war currently going on. So if someone places a bid within the last few minutes of an auction, they'll extend the time period to allow for any other bids to occur. So it's kind of annoying, especially when this happens in the middle of the night. A lot of proxy services like ZenMark allows you to do a maximum bid, so you don't have to keep going back and forth and adding funds to your account. But it's all kind of annoyingly complicated, so I tend to avoid auctions for the most part. But you definitely can find a lot of great deals. You just have to be a little bit careful about the shipping costs within Japan, because sometimes some listings will offer free domestic shipping, but some of them are coming from overseas and they could charge a lot, say if it's coming from China or something. So you have to be a little bit careful with some of these listings on here. Another site that I really like to use is Rakuma, and so they are an alternative to Mercari. And so they are an online flea market site. So I'll talk more about Rakuma as well as Mercari, which is again another kind of flea marketplace. Those are the two main places I usually like to look for used video games as well as used gaming related merch. And there's also, of course, other shops you could look at. You could look at Rakuten, which has a database of multiple types of shops for all sorts of items, mostly new, but sometimes they also have used items. Amazon Japan, the same thing. So I typically don't order things on Amazon Japan through a proxy service, because usually a lot of the items on Amazon Japan you can have directly shipped to your international address. So you don't really need a proxy service to be the go-between. There are some third-party sellers on Amazon Japan that doesn't let you ship directly to your home address. So in that case, a proxy service comes in handy. And Yahoo Shopping is very similar to Rakuten, except I think they mostly only have new listings from various shops. And of course, there's plenty of other shops that proxy services can buy from for you. These are just kind of the main marketplaces that people tend to find really good deals. But first, I'm going to share how you can pre-order something. So whenever you're using a proxy service, they will go and buy something for you. So you have to fill your funds in your account in order for the proxy service to buy an item for you. So right now, the Legend of Heroes Trails series is doing a collaboration with Super Groupies, which I guess is a Japanese fashion line that does a lot of collaborations with various video games and animes. And they have a very expensive watch that I've been thinking about for the past few days and decided to pre-order. And that is the Estelle Bright Kaseki watch, based off of Trails in the Sky series. And this is a very expensive watch at over 20,000 yen. And Super Groupies does offer shipping to the US on their US shop. However, I found with tax and shipping and everything, it came out to be a lot more expensive than if I were to just directly buy it on their Japanese website using a proxy service, mostly because of how the exchange rate is currently. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this, and it is a pre-order because it's not coming out until the end of August. So those proxy services are nice to use to kind of lock in the current exchange rate, because right now the yen is starting to recover, and so we're not going to get as much of a discount as we had last year when it comes to at least the Japanese yen and USD conversion rate. So to get your proxy service to order something for you, all you do is go to the item page URL and copy it, and then you can simply put the URL in the search bar here in Zen Market or use this little plus sign. So I'm going to first see if they have Super Groupies available on here, which they don't, so they automatically put you to the add product or auction option, which is the little plus sign next to the account icon. So it has the URL here, and then I'm just going to say it's the Estelle Kaseki watch. And so now if I go to my account, you see that this is now being checked by Zen Market. So they need to verify if there's any domestic shipping, which on the listing it said all domestic shipping within Japan is a uniform 800 yen. And so they're going to add 800 yen to the price of the watch that was on the website, as well as the Zen Market fee of 300 yen. And I'm usually pretty fast at doing this. If it's a website that's not part of their structure, so it's not like from Mercari or something, they usually take about a day to get back to you. And you have to be kind of conscious of what the working hours are in Japan and when you place your order. So once this item is verified with the final price, you could go ahead and add funds to the amount they're asking you to send. And once you pay the total that's requested, they'll go ahead and buy the item for you. So this does take a few days. So if you do have a tight pre-order window, try to do it as early as possible to make sure that they have enough time to secure funds and buy the item for you before the pre-order window is over. So once the item arrives, you have 45 days of free storage. But generally, I do like to have an item wait in their storage in case there's something else I want to add to that order to make a package and combine shipping with. So with this item coming out towards the end of August, I'm probably going to go back on here and see if there's any other items from Mercari or some other online shop that I would want to bundle with the watch so that they could ship together and I could save a little bit more doing that than shipping them out separately. So that's how you can pre-order an item from a specific website. And now I'm going to just share how I like to browse on the various flea market sites to find really good deals on some of the video games and video game related merch. So generally when I'm searching for games, I'm looking for the Japanese versions that include English on the cart or the disc. So I usually like to use Play Asia as a way to kind of filter out which games include English on them. So for example, they do have a tab for Asian English games. And so they'll show 100 different pages filled with Asian releases that include English on them. So if you're looking specifically for games that come out of Japan, you could just go to version, filter out just Japan. And so now this is reduced to 26 pages. And I do like to do all items because they do have some games that are out of stock that you could find used elsewhere. And you'll notice that they do have some games that did receive North American or European releases, like the new Metroid Prime Remastered, as well as the upcoming Tears of the Kingdom game. But there are some games that are exclusive to Asia, like the River City Girls 1 and 2 pack. So I try to aim for these sort of games that you can't get easily in North America. So there are a lot of these Asian exclusive games that include English on them, such as the Ace Attorney collection, as well as the Little Busters visual novel here. And there are also some games that were only limitedly released in North America, usually through limited run games that you could actually find the Asian counterparts for much cheaper. So I actually did this with Shantae and the Seven Sirens. You could also do this with, for example, Ender Lilies and a few other games if you wanted to go that route. So right now I'm looking to beef up my visual novel collection with some imports that include English on the cart. So I've been looking for a copy of Clannad, which did receive a limited run physical release, but I don't really want to kind of pay those prices when you could get this just from Japan. And so right now it looks like Play Asia is charging around $89 for Clannad, which is a little steep, and it looks like it's not even in stock at the moment. So I'm going to try to see if I could find this for cheaper using a proxy service. So the first thing I check is for the kanji, or the Japanese writing of the title of the game, because usually when you search in Japanese, you're going to have more listings pop up. And even though Clannad has English right here on the cover, not all of the Japanese sellers will list it by its English title. So that's something I think important to note. And you can easily find what the original Japanese name is just by scrolling down on PlayAsia's listing and just copying the original name here. Now you can search directly on Zen Market if that was something you wanted to do. For example, I could look up Macari and it'll just give me all the Clannad items here. And so I could do Clannad, switch. But what I found with most of these proxy services search tools is they're not that great. So you could see that this has nothing to do with Clannad, and nothing really pops up here. So I usually like to just search on these Japanese marketplaces directly. So here I will just plug it in, Clannad, switch, and see what comes up. And what's also nice about this is you can just show items that are currently on sale. So if you check this little box here, it will remove all the listings that have already sold. Though it is nice to sometimes leave that checked as well to kind of get a good idea of what prices things sell for, so you don't just come across a listing and overpay for what generally the median cost is for these items. Sometimes that could happen. So it looks like there is one that is brand new, unopened, for just under 6,000 yen, so that's already cheaper than PlayAsia. And there's also one for just under 5,000 yen. So I'm going to try to get this one, since I don't mind it being an open copy. And so it's a good idea to kind of look up who the seller is, see how reputable they are. So they've sold a lot and have 5 stars, so they seem pretty legit. Also just look at the listing to make sure there's nothing kind of hidden here, like this picture was used for display purposes only or something like that. And when using Chrome, this will automatically translate to English. So it's a little bit easier to kind of tell what's going on here. So it looks like it looks complete without any major damage. So I'm going to just copy this URL and put it right into the search here to see if their database could find it. And it looks like it is here. So again, this is a really great price because it has free shipping within Japan. Most Mercari items do have free shipping. So I have it right now set to Japanese yen, but you can also change this so they'll do the conversion for you about how much it will be. So it's going to be just under $40 And because the service fee is waived, we're not going to have to pay the 300 yen or about the 250 USD. And so this is a pretty good deal, I would say, especially compared to what it's being offered on PlayAsia. I also like to double check what the prices are on Amazon Japan as well as eBay to make sure it's worthwhile to buy this through a proxy, because usually after the service fees as well as international shipping, those things can add up. So you kind of have to be smart with what you pick and choose. But yeah, I think this is a good item. So I'm going to add it and wait for them. Oh, actually, you don't have to wait for them to verify since it's an instant purchase. So you could just go ahead and pay right away, which is really nice. But that's for a Switch game. Another item I was really looking for was a DS game. And that's because this particular DS game costs a lot of money in North America right now. But you can find the Japanese counterpart that also includes English text in it as an option for much cheaper. And that is Chrono Trigger. So what's nice about the Nintendo DS is that it is region free. So games like Chrono Trigger, you could play on your regular North American or European or wherever you are Nintendo DS, as well as your 3DS system. And so it won't have any of the region locking that the 3DS games have had. There's a short list of other Nintendo DS games that include English on them. I believe all the Ace Attorney games have them, though because I already have the compilation on the Switch, I'm not really looking for those right now. The PSP also has a game that has English as an option right on the disc, and that is Final Fantasy III, which I've shared on this channel before. And can verify that this is a Japanese copy of the game, but you can play it in English. So those are kind of nice games that I look for. So I'm going to look right on Mercari because, again, the Waves service fee, it's probably going to be a really good place to look for first. So here we have Chrono Trigger DS, and I just filtered it to all the ones that are currently on sale. And some of them are quite expensive, but then you get down here and you can find them for under 3,000 yen. So I think so far the 29.60 was the cheapest. So I'm just going to go ahead and request my proxy service to buy this one as long as the description, everything checks out. So let's see. It's like free shipping included. And the seller doesn't have a ton of ratings, but I think over 10 positive ratings is usually pretty good. And the condition of the box and everything, and it looks like it includes the manual, which is great, checks out. So I'm going to request this one using the same method as before. So here's our market just is warning you that the seller doesn't have a ton of ratings, so it's kind of at your own risk if you want to go ahead and proceed with the purchase or not. I feel like this is not going to be too big of an issue since they seem to have fairly positive reviews, and most of the other items are about the same price, so I feel like it shouldn't be too much of an issue. And if we go back here, you can still buy it fairly easily. So Frill.jp is Rakuma. So this is very similar again to Mercari, except they tend to not have as many listings as Mercari. I think they're trying to become a competitor to Mercari. So it's not quite as popular, but you can sometimes find unique items on here. So I do recommend checking this one out. This is another website I really like to use, Suragaya, and they have a ton of different merchandise and media items for usually discounted prices, but whenever they have some of the more rare items, they will be above MSRP. So they generally have a pretty good spread and variety of items on their shop, and they also often run multiple sales. So sometimes you could find really great discounts for certain listings that you're interested in. So I like to keep an eye on particular items to see if they will either have a price drop or go on sale. But this is actually the site I use to find really great deals on some of the trail figures, Nendoroid Petites that I've shared before on this channel. And they came out to be around like $10 each after fees and shipping and everything, which I thought was a great deal. So yeah, this is a great option. I do highly recommend. But lastly, I wanted to share how to look up some just merch of some of your favorite franchises. So if I wanted to look up, say, some Xenoblade items, what I do to figure out what Xenoblade is in Japanese is I go to the Wikipedia page, And oftentimes they'll either have it in the first paragraph, or here they have a little note here that Xenoblade Chronicles is this specific text in Japanese. And I then just like to go straight on Mercari and just do a wide search to see what pops up. So this can be quite dangerous because you will find things that you've never heard of and be tempted to buy them. But just kind of give you a feel of what's available out there, what are the price ranges. I'm interested actually in getting a soundtrack of the second game. Not the really expensive limited edition, because I'm sure that will be hundreds of dollars at this point from prices I've been seeing trending. But if I wanted to find the soundtrack, you can look up what soundtrack is in kanji and put it in the search tool. But sometimes you just get away with Xenoblade CD and see what comes up. So here it looks like you can find the second game's soundtrack for 3,600 yen, which is pretty good. As you see, this is the limited edition one. It's for $100, or in this case, nearly $300. And again, if you don't mark the filter to remove all of the sold items, you get an idea of what things have been selling for, to make sure that listing you found isn't something you'll be overpaying for. So I'm just going to now check this box and see what prices are looking like. And it's looking like that first listing might be the cheapest. And it's a price I'm willing to pay because this is a 4 CD soundtrack. And I really love this soundtrack. And so here are lots of pictures of what it looks like. So it has all these different discs, and you see there's no scratches, and it looks pretty clean. And free shipping. And it seems like the seller is pretty reputable. Request this. And so soundtrack will be around $28, which is pretty good. Since I think this retailed, I don't think this listing said, but this definitely retailed for I think over $50 originally. So that's sort of the process I like to do when it comes to how to find good deals using a Japanese proxy service. So other than cross-comparing the various shops, as well as using the Japanese terminology in your searches, you also have to take a few things into consideration when it comes to, I guess, the final amount, including international shipping. So as you could probably guess, the lighter the packages and the smaller the packages, the less expensive it's going to be. So I try to be very conscious about what sort of listings I go and buy. A lot of times you can find some really great bundle deals where a seller will just have a ton of different items. And because it's all bundled in one listing, it'll just be one flat service fee in order to buy that. Versus if you're trying to buy things individually, the 300 yen service fee for all those separate listings would add up to be quite a lot. So sometimes it makes sense to hunt out for those bundle deals. But if the bundle includes some heavier items that you're not interested in, it might be worthwhile to kind of skip that and just go for individual listings. Using Zen Market as an example again, if you scroll down, they have a lot of different articles on their page about different costs and fee structures. And they also, I used to have a little calculator given the dimension of a box and the weight, how expensive it would be to ship to your country. I think if you go to shipping fees or methods, it will point you towards that, the shipping calculator. So let's say I had 1,000 gram package, shipping to the US, and say it was 12 by 10 by 4, maybe. They have various different shipping options. Surface being the one that takes the longest. It goes by boat. That's why it's the cheapest. You could also find some great deals using different courier services like UPS, FedEx, or DHL. Or you could just go with EMS, which goes to your post office, at least here in the US. But the other thing to note that I'm sure people have questions about is custom charges. I know in the US, the upper threshold for custom charges is quite high. I think the package's value has to be over $800 before they start looking into custom fee charges. And even then, depending on what you buy, usually for media or like toys or plastic or things like that, it's not a very huge rate. I did have a package that was well over, I think, $1,000 a few years ago, and that was kind of like a group order I did. And I think the custom fees ended up just being like $20 to $30, so it wasn't too much. But it is something to be very conscious of, especially if you live in Canada or if you're in Europe. So definitely look up to see what the fee structure is when it comes to this sort of thing. There are some proxy services that do allow you to adjust what it says on the custom label about what the overall value of the package is, to lower it a little bit. But that kind of varies from proxy to proxy service. I don't remember if ZenMarket does that. I know Neokyo used to do that, but I haven't used their new interface yet, so I'm not sure if they did away with that. But it's something, again, to keep in mind, because I know for some countries, custom fee charges could be almost as much as the price of the goods themselves. Once all of your items arrive to the warehouse, you could go ahead and request a package to be consolidated, and they'll give you various different shipping options to choose from, which one you want to go with. I tend to avoid surface parcel because of how slow it is. If I'm shipping out something humongous and I don't have enough cash to cover it, I might consider doing it, but generally I'm willing to pay a few more dollars to upgrade to a courier service so that my items arrive within a week versus waiting a few months and hope it doesn't get lost at sea or something. But yeah, this is sort of my rundown of how I go about using proxy services and finding some really good deals on both rare and unique items on the Japanese websites. I've definitely found a ton of great deals over the years using proxy services and have no regrets getting into it, though it is a rabbit hole in and of itself. So I guess, like anything else, proceed with caution. If you have any more questions on things I didn't cover in this, let me know down below and I'll try my best to answer them. I don't know much about custom charges or anything for other countries, unfortunately, so I would recommend looking at videos from other people who are from your country or online forums or things like that. So yeah, I'll probably be adding more items to this package over the next month or so. And I'm not sure if I will feature this in one of my pickups video or just make its own separate video of what one of these parcels look like once they arrive. ZenMarket, as well as Neokyo and the other ones, do a pretty good job at packing, so I haven't really had any issues. And I've never requested extra packing material, which is an option some of the proxy services have, because usually the standard packing is adequate. And once my very expensive Estelle watch comes in, I might share that too in a video or maybe on Instagram or something. It's very excessive, but it was a watch I couldn't stop thinking about, and I would regret if I missed the pre-order period, most likely. But yeah, that's everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and until my next one, bye guys.